Last week on AutoCheck, our test driver, Tony Morris, expressed a liking for front-wheel drive cars. Today we have one of the most potent front-wheel drive cars currently available on the market. This is the Chrysler Daytona Turbo. Tony, why are we seeing so many more turbocharged cars available all of a sudden?
Well, the main reason, Dave, is that we had a gas shortage, as you know, over the last few years, and the manufacturers were trying to get away from the big heavy engines like 454s, 427s, and Ford's 302. So Chrysler have jumped on a very early bandwagon in this type of car and brought in a small CC, like 2200cc turbo.
It's the same four-cylinder engine that you'll find in the basic Chrysler K car, but in the $13,000 Daytona, Chrysler has upped the performance to 140 horsepower by using fuel injection and a turbocharger.
The turbo boost is around about 8 pounds in this car. The car that we've been using as a guideline in AutoCheck is the turbo Porsche, and it runs around about 10 pounds. The lower boost pressure in the turbo shows coming out of corners at the top end of the rev scale, around about 65, 70 miles an hour when you've got your foot hard down. It seems to lack just that little bit. Admittedly, we're being very critical from a $13,000 car to a $70,000 car. So for your average motorist, the boost and the turbo would be very exciting.
With all the high-tech gear under the hood, it's important for the driver to be able to monitor what's going on easily and quickly.
The gauge package and the boost gauge, clock, radio, heater is all within reaching distance of the driver. The seating position is very comfortable. It has got a lumbar support, and it can be adjusted on your thighs and on your hips and on your back very easily while you're driving along.
There are back seats in the Daytona Turbo, but if you're over 4 feet tall, we wouldn't recommend them. The space is much better utilized when the seats are folded down, giving the car excellent cargo capacity under the hatch. Front-wheel drive cars are famous for their understeering characteristics, and the Chrysler Daytona is no exception.
You point the car and you put your foot in, and the car tends to understeer. In other words, it pushes. If you're going into a left-hand corner, it would pull over to the right. It's not uncommon in front-wheel drive, and it is quite manageable in this car. The tire and wheel package in the car is excellent. It's the Goodyear GT with the Chrysler Mag, which is a big asset in the handling department.
Another trait of front-wheel drive cars is that the transmission is a long way away from the gear shift. It's an area that usually causes the engineers problems, but the backroom boys at Chrysler seem to have dealt with the problem quite effectively.
The shifting mechanism does not have a good, solid feel about it. However, getting it into fifth gear and back down into third and second and back down into the bottom of the gearbox is no problem at all. I must praise them for that. In most front-wheel drives, when you're coming down the gearbox from third down into second, there's a normal crunch. This is very, very nicely done. The step from second up to third and third back to second is excellent.
However, Tony was not amused by Chrysler's decision to install a slightly beefed-up version of the K car's rear suspension and brakes in the Daytona Turbo.
The car is a turbo car, and I would personally like to see disc brakes all the way around. Where it really becomes evident is into tight corners from your high speed down into your low speed on hard braking. The tail of the car becomes very light, and it does actually feel as if you're going to run out of brakes. I'm sure this isn't the case, but I would be very critical of the braking system in the car. Putting a Porsche Turbo at a 10, I would give this car a 6.8.
Chrysler's economic recovery in recent years has been truly remarkable. They've done that by building some fine automobiles. However, as Tony's AutoCheck rating reflects, this car, the Daytona Turbo, needs a little more development work before it's going to successfully compete with the other cars in its class. Our thanks to Chrysler Canada for supplying us with the car, as always to Tony Morris of Circuit Tire for his expert evaluation, and to the Sports Car Club of BC for helping us with AutoCheck on Consumer Retorts. For Vancouver, I'm David Kincaid.